contained in these five objectives around really building social transformation, India first problems, streamlining access to foundational resources, creating a model of ethical AI, and finally getting the workforce ready. I like to think of this as our way to truly build the AI ecosystem of India, which touches across R&D, social responsibility, enabling startups, and then finally enabling our workforce for this massive revolution in technology that's going to come to us for the next few decades. To further drill it down, the India AI mission is split into these seven different pillars. First being India AI compute capacity, where the idea is how do we enable large scale compute infrastructure for academia, students, startups, and anybody else in India who wants to use and compute at scale to build some foundational technology around AI. The second is India Innovation Center, where the mission is to try to create indigenous large language models that can be very India specific and India first, using our data sets as well as built on top of our unique set of languages. The datasets platform um, is our attempt to bring various data sets across the country together under one platform. We have so many ministries, so many states. How do we pull all of this together in a way that it can be made accessible to anybody who wants to use these data sets for their own AI applications? The India AI Applications Development Initiative, which is why we are here today, uh, where the purpose is how do you develop scale and genuinely roll out nationally impactful AI solutions across very critical India first sectors. The future skills pillar, where the goal is how do you get the workforce ready for the next 30, 40, 50 years to be able to participate in the AI revolution. Startup financing, this is a pillar where our goal is to enable and promote 1,000 plus AI native startups in the country over the next 5 years. And then finally, safe and trusted AI, which really, more than a pillar for me, cuts across all of these other pillars as the sort of foundation on which we have to build everything. Everything that we do over here has to be safe, responsible, trusted, and ethical AI. Like I said, today we are here for the India AI Applications Development Initiative. And as part of the initiative, our objectives are how do we create AI for social good? So, how do we build solutions and technology that can get to the last mile, the last citizen in every city in the country? Making AI for India in India. A lot of the initial AI solutions that are taking scale and have been built in India, but for the world. They've been typically built as software products. What we want to do as part of this pillar is build India first applications that can be consumer facing and citizen facing to benefit a billion plus Indians. When I say billion plus Indians, that's where we refer to population level scale up. So one of the big themes and objectives of how we think about this pillar is not only to be able to build and support people building, but actually also enabling the scale up. How do we provide you with the right resources, the right mentorship, the right coordination to be able to take your solutions and scale it up for population level impact? And then finally, like I said, the theme of responsibility cuts across everything that we do over here at India AI Mission. And all of this has to be done keeping in mind the right guidelines around ethical AI and responsible innovation. The Innovation Challenge was launched about 1 month back on 13th August. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. First, what are the thematic areas that we wanted to focus on? Healthcare, improved governance, agriculture, assistive technology for learning, and then finally climate action. These are the five thematic areas that we shortlisted to be able to launch this challenge in. You'll see over here some indicative problem statements. This is not exhaustive. There's a longer list that we have on the India AI website. In addition, please feel free to imagine your own set of problem statements. But these are like an indicative set of problem statements that can basically be thought of as a starting point across all these themes. As you can see, back to my earlier previous slide, right? All of these, whether it is using AI enhanced X-rays to power early disease detection, or gamified learning for dyslexia, or multimodal farmer advisory, all of these, I keep repeating, are India first, national level, that can truly bring population scale impact. So if you think of any problem within these themes that can have that level of impact, then this challenge is for you. Eligibility, honestly, anybody and everybody can participate as long as you're an Indian citizen or an Indian organization. Anybody from industry, government agency, pardon our formatting a little bit, sorry about that. Students, startup, research institution, any and every one of you are welcome to participate. We had a lot of clarification questions on that some of this in the last webinar, so I will clarify a few important points as I'm preempting some questions. If you're a student, yes, absolutely, you can apply. If you're an individual, just a professional, you can apply as an individual as well. Do remember, in any of these aspects, when you're applying as an individual and individual team, you will need a no objection certificate from your current organization that you're employed or associated with. The reason we say that is that if you're applying as an individual, then eventually the IPR that gets created also has to be for you as your individuals, which means that we would need to make sure that whoever you're working for or associated with today does not have an objection on you participating in creating this. So, very important. Yes, you can, but make sure to get an NOC from whoever you are working with so that the IPR remains protected. Each applicant we've created a very exciting evaluation committee with experts across all these different sectors, which includes people from ministries, venture capitalists, technical leaders, who will then, be evaluating all the applications that come in. Our deadline for submission is 16 September, which is 4 days from today. I'm hoping that your weekends are busy creating these applications and filling it out. And finally, how does the challenge actually work? So stage zero, which is where we are today, is going to be you'll basically submit your application for which the deadline is 16 September. After that, we will take roughly 4 weeks to come back to you with the initial screening. So we will select a certain number of applications to then move forward, at which point each winner will be given and awarded up to 5 lakhs for each qualifying solution so that you can use that to then move on to stage two. In stage two, which will again roughly last for 2 months, you'll be expected to build an initial, what I like to call POC of sorts, which can show us how it works, prove out a little bit about of just the technology. If at that point you're selected and successful, you will then be awarded with 25 lakhs, and it will then be moved to stage three, which is going to be finally creating the end solution and actually trying to deploy it at some sort of a live customer. Um, and at the end of all of this, if you're finally selected as one of the winners, the prize money will be up to 1 crore. But more importantly, a government support in national rollout of whatever solution you're building. So the prize money is great, but our goal out of this is to enable and create some very interesting AI first novel applications that can have national rollout through the various departments or ministries as may be required. So that's my time. Thank you for listening to me. Like I said, please keep the questions coming, and our team will try to address as many of them on chat as we can. And now over to Vivek to talk a little bit about his experience in the space, as well as some use cases in governance. Vivek Raghavan is the co-founder of Sarvam AI. Sarvam is, our as a country, one of our flag bearers when it comes to the startup ecosystem and building foundational AI technology. Vivek has spent a long time in public service as one of the chief architects and volunteers at the UIDI Aadhaar program. So Vivek obviously has a lot to share. Hopefully you are here. Hopefully
Yes, I am
You
here.
can see us.
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thanks, Aakrit. Can you hear me?
We can hear, see you absolutely fine.
Okay, sounds good. So then thank you for having me as part of this initiative by India AI. So I think I think I want to talk a little bit about the motivation of, you know, uh, I mean, how I think AI and generative AI is really kind of changing things, right? I think for the first time, I mean, I think when we look at UPI, right? So something is actually easier to do in India than it is anywhere else in the world, right? And I think that we are actually very kind of, understandably proud about that. But the truth is, most other things are actually much harder to do in India than it is in other parts of the world. So, but I think generative AI for the first time gives us the ability that maybe we can make everything simpler to do in our country, right, than anywhere else in the world, and we can be the kind of the flagship of of how citizens, whether it is and services, yeah, are obviously government services are also and also private services where it is easier to live life, right? And I think that is really the goal that we should aim for. We should not be satisfied. Yes, we can pay things better than payments are simpler. I think every process we go through should be simpler and easier for people to do. And I think that's the goal when you look at public services and things like that. And obviously, India is a country where we have a very large number. The government has so many schemes, right, to actually which a lot of people can benefit from. But the truth is today, I mean, I think that prior to kind of the internet era, maybe people didn't even know about the schemes. But now you can probably know about the schemes. But the problem is the person who really needs to know the scheme, right, is probably not someone who is, let's say, digitally literate. And the kind of things that we were looking at is that you had a choice between digital literacy and speaking in your own language. And I think that is a false choice. And I think that we can break that choice here. And I think that's really what the power of what we are doing here, which is the promise of the kinds of things that we can do in India AI, right? So I think naturally, I mean, and I think that India as a country, we are a nation of people who speak, right? And we love to talk, and we love to talk in our own language, and we love to talk, kind of colloquially, and we like and actually that's how we do things. So therefore, if that becomes the interface, right? If speaking becomes the interface for getting things done at a scale that was never possible before, then I think that people will be able to solve their own problems, right? By using interfaces that they're already comfortable with. And I think that's the intent of what we should be doing here, right? I mean, in terms of things. I mean, just think about it. I mean, and I think that one early kind of project which I was kind of peripherally involved with was actually this thing called Jugalbandi, where basically people took just OpenAI had just come, and there was this thing this and then what we took is we took all the AI models of Bhashini, and then we combined that with Jugalbandi, and we actually made it that anything that was available in text in some language, people could actually speak to that document and chat with it and get answers and do things. And that's a very early version of that. But I think that gives an idea of we need to look at how do we make this technology, and we make this technology available at a billion scale. As Akrit was saying, right? The goal is to do things at the billion scale. And I think that that's a very good starting point. Lots of interesting people have built bots and been used for various purposes using something like that. But I think that we obviously can take this to the next level. So therefore, it is fundamentally an access and inclusion story, right? Does everybody have access to all the resources? And why do we not have access? Because maybe we don't have access to the computer, or maybe we don't have access to the long language, to knowledge of the language. And that access is really what we want people to be able to, that's what that want to track. And access doesn't necessarily mean only language. And I think one of the projects that I was involved in a few years ago was actually a project where we were trying to translate judgments and orders from the Supreme Court from English to various Indian languages. And we actually did a correct translation. But the interesting thing was that there was already complex legal language. And then we converted into complex legal language in Gujarati, for that matter. The question is, did it actually increase access to somebody? That's the question that we need to ask. And I think that is where, again, it's very important that when you think of these kinds of systems, these systems need to work in the language that people speak, right? So therefore, it needs to be colloquial, it needs to be simple. In fact, when we write something, and many of our policies, etc., are in documents, they are actually in more kind of complex language. While when you want to look at a more kind of complex language, while in reality, you want to actually speak much more simply so that people can understand how this policy has an impact to their lives, right? I mean, that's the question that, in the end, I'm a citizen, I want to get a service. And how am I eligible? And it needs to be in the language that I understand, not in not in what the official document says, which is correct, but it is written in a particular way. And there again, that's another kind of what you call that, another kind of area where accessibility becomes important. The other thing which I think with the coming and building, and I think we are going to get better, is that with the coming of generative AI, having these low-cost, voice-enabled bots that can actually naturally talk to people will become it will become much cheaper, it will become much more feasible. And now you can actually get things at scale. Just take an example. Let me just take an example, right? Supposing I had, supposing there was, and let me start with a commercial thing. Let's say there is a product and a new product is launched, and this product has gone to the corners of the country, and people want to understand what people think about this product, right? Can I actually kind of collect feedback about what people like, what people don't like, how they're using it, what's happening at a massive scale? Can I do a 1 crore calls, right, to understand that kind of thing? Now, that's something that was simply not possible. But today, I think it is. So today, I think it is possible. So therefore, and that's really the way by which we must think. How can we get feedback in out-of-bound channels at a way that we have never done, where we have never done before? And that's something that I think is a very exciting. And obviously, if this can be done for a product, it can be done for a government scheme. It can be done for anything. You can actually get feedback about things. Similarly, I think that when people don't, what happens when you apply for a scheme or you do something, there are obviously hopefully 80 or 90% of the people, when they go through, it's the happy path, everything happens, and they actually get the benefit of the service they were looking for. But some people don't, right? And then when you get stuck in that part, how do I really kind of go and actually get what is actually due to me because of some mistake somewhere, something is happening that I'm not actually able to get that. So, and I think that the ability to talk to someone who understands, and when I say talk to someone, I mean, I actually mean that I think that we are moving to the era where we talk to bots, but we talk with so talk to someone who really can understand what is the situation with my specific case, right? And how can it be resolved? I think we can open up a governance capability. The governance capacity can dramatically be changed if high quality responses can be given on your specific issue. We're not about generic ज्ञान देने वाला chatbot. We are talking about something which actually solves कि आपको क्या चाहिए, and that's how we should be thinking. So for every place, right, that's where we need to be able to aim to get. And I think that today, I mean, and I think that today, if I get an IVR call, I'm just like irritated, right? What is this thing coming? It's probably not going to be able to answer anything that I care about, right? But the truth is that I think, and we are moving towards that, and I think that we are moving towards it, and that we are moving towards a point where people will prefer to talk to something like that because they understand context much better. They'll understand your specific situations much better. They'll be able to make database calls to the right things to get your real information. And they'll be able to understand your context. When you come the next time, they will know what happened there. And I think that is really when we're trying to build solutions, we must be thinking in that way. And so I mean, I think it's really exciting that India AI has actually built is come up with these challenges. And as someone who was building large language models and at looking at generative AI through the entire stack at Sarvam, I'm actually happy that we're happy to mentor teams if anybody wants to come and kind of work with us to actually build certain things. That's something that I would be happy to take up a few teams and mentor them through this process. And that would be, I think, quite exciting because in the end, the ideas are limitless. There are so many things you can do, and there are so many pieces that are there. That is it. And finally, I'll raise to this thing, right? In the end, when we are doing these kind of sensitive solutions, and governance solutions are sensitive, clearly the questions of safeguards and all those things are there. And also the case of sovereignty is there, right? We need to build these things that are fully under our control. And you can't really be calling OpenAI to actually solve governance issues that are there. I mean, those are the kinds of things that we have to figure out. How do we make some of these solutions in manners that we can actually use them? But at the same time, this technology needs to be available because it really does make a massive difference. Can make a massive difference to people. So I'll stop here, and I'll maybe take
Yeah,
questions.
no, thanks, Vivek.
Yeah.
We are going to take this opportunity to put you on the spot for a few questions.
Yes, sure,
Um,
sure, sure.
I did warn you. I did not warn you about that. But no, so actually, look, very easy question to start with. A couple of related questions in the chat as well. How do we get access to using Sarvam for people who want to build applications using your models?
Oh, okay. So see, firstly, all our APIs are available on the website, and you don't even have to reach out to us. You can actually just go sign up, and you will get a license, and you'll get a certain amount of free usage. And of course, if you want to use it more, then you can talk to us. We'll probably even enable that if you're doing something that's interesting to us. So therefore, I think that is something that our models are available today on our website and can be used.
Okay. Now, slightly tougher question. In what and there's a couple of again related questions, not necessarily to Sarvam, but I think everybody would love to get some perspective on this. In which situation should I uh, think of using a model like Sarvam versus using an open source model?
Okay. So, and you're asking with respect to open source models. So the point is
Yes.
this. Let's say, I mean, I'll expand the problem a little bit further, right? When you are actually trying to figure out what is the problem you're trying to solve, you're doing a POC, or you're doing something that you're trying to figure out. My advice is actually use the biggest frontier model that you can find. Okay, whether that be OpenAI, whether that be Claude, or whether that be Llama 405B, whatever you want, you should use that kind of model to actually prove that what you want to do. But then if you actually want to do something, and most of the times when people are building use cases, they are narrow use cases. You're not trying to solve everything in the world. You're trying to do one thing really well. And in that case, you should go for a smaller model. If the smaller model should actually be, you should go for a smaller model, and you should actually, maybe sometimes a smaller model would work just as it is with certain kind of, instructions, or maybe you have to fine tune the smaller model, whether it's open source or not, that doesn't matter. You need to be fine tuning those models. Then you can actually get something that is better, that is faster, and that is quality, better in quality, faster, and probably causing less global warming and solving your problem. Because most of the time people have a specific problem to solve, and you want to actually do that most effectively as you can. But supposing you are saying, just to give an example, if you are asking specifically, one of the things is that if you are talking about things related to Indian languages using an open source model and an LLM, I think that some of Sarvam's models are actually some of the best models out there. In fact, we have even an open source model from Sarvam, right, called Sarvam 2B, which is actually trained on 4 trillion tokens of Indian language data.
Got it. No, that's great. And then, last question, without, of course, naming anybody, and so you can include maybe some of the work you're doing without calling it out. You're, like you said, building the full stack, you're at the heart of the ecosystem. Can you give maybe the participants a sense of 3 or 4 very interesting applications you've seen over this last course of many years of work that you've been doing that are India first?
See, I think that fundamentally anything that you are looking at which uses voice and uses Indic languages, that is an India first kind of application, right? And I think the ability, right, and people had those even before the GPT era and last year, and they're just getting better, right? And they have to hit that tipping point that these applications are good enough that they are being used at large scale. And that's really the point and I think that whether it is, what is India first? And the other way of looking at India first is, what do we need to do, right? One of the things that, has happened as part of this whole generative AI, and this is a trend that will happen, that truly expertise is going to become free. Okay. And that is and so therefore, wherever there was a kind of a scarcity, now you can actually say there will no longer be a scarcity. And how do you actually look at those kinds of things? Is it education? Like, is it healthcare? Like, there will be big things that are coming out of that leverage these things and go there, right? So therefore, and I think that whether it is in 6 months or it's going to take 2 3 years or 5 years, that we can't say. I think that some of those things, time will tell in what ways some of these things actually build out. But there are things which I think where it is definitely becoming very clear, right? Things like customer care and grievance redressal and fraud, deep understanding of fraud. There are very, very obvious governance related or massive surveys of understanding effectiveness of programs. These are kind of use cases where we will see many solutions come out in that area.
Great. Thanks so much. I think the big takeaway from your uh, overview, Vivek, which maybe I think is new, slightly call it new in terms of learning for all of us, and compared to all the different discussions that I think the groups have been having, is voice. I think a very, very, very great, very good point you bring up, right? That AI, we should think of it not just in terms of using LLMs and text, whether it is text for analysis or chat or whatever, but really voice, especially India first, will be a very, very big medium.
Yes.
So thanks so much, Vivek, again for taking your precious time. And I'm sure all of us learned a lot, and we will see you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Akhil.
All right. Next we have Rajesh Aggarwal ji. He is, a secretary at the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities. So there's probably nobody better to talk to us a little bit about that as a thematic area, which is how do you think about AI within persons within solving for people with disabilities, and what are some of the problems that they are facing. I interestingly learned earlier today that sir has a BTech from computer science from IIT Delhi, where he spent time on natural language understanding and algorithms way back in sort of the 80s. So very excited to have him here and give us a bit of a perspective.
Thank you, Akrit. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly you can hear you and see you.
Okay, so my first brush with AI was in 1986 in IIT Delhi, where three of us did BTech project on natural language understanding. It's like mini or nano GPT, chat GPT. And I have followed the progress of AI ever since in last 40 years or so. And what is really artificial intelligence? In one way, you can look at it as that it is an alternative to, or it fills in gaps of our brain, five senses, or the muscle movements. So at the most fundamental level, when we talk of artificial intelligence, and so the sector of disability is then the ideal fit for AI, where you have gap in brain or any of the five senses or movements. So AI is a best fit. So I will give you today a lot of ideas and sort of problems. For example, for deaf people, we talk of vernacular, text or voice-based Indian languages, so many languages. The deaf people, they have a sign language. So conversion of text to sign language by avatar kind of thing, and vice versa. These are hard issues. We have talked to Japanese team, Project Shuva of Google, and many other teams. And a lot of teams across the globe are working on this. A lot of Indian teams have worked on this. But at the moment, it is still an issue not solved. Text to sign or sign to text, whether it's Indian Sign Language, American Sign Language, or British Sign Language. The solutions are 50-60%, which is obviously not of any use. That's a very niche area. Now, a lot of Indian companies across the world, Ray-Ban is doing it with Meta AI, and three Indian companies at the range of 8,000 to 20,000 rupees. They have brought out goggles for the blind people. So a blind person uses that goggles. There is a mic, there is a small camera, and there is obviously an AI, maybe through Bluetooth over the mobile phone. The processing happens there. So the goggle describes what is in front of you. It can say Rajesh Aggarwal is sitting before you in pink shirt. His mood is today not good, so don't raise unnecessary issues. Or it can say you're walking on the road. It can say there is a car or there's a dog or whatever. So it's a path-breaking kind of use of AI and actually being done. So I would say it's quite a solved problem. The image and video analysis is now quite a solved problem. And this is really very, very useful to blind people. There used to be a service called Be My Eyes, EYES, and where a blind person could basically pan his camera around. Some manpower sitting somewhere would describe the scene for him or her. So volunteers or subscription-based service. Now it is getting replaced by Be My AI rather than Be My Eyes, because AI is now good alternative to eyes. The image analytics is quite a solved problem. Now voice analytics, Vivek was talking about it. And a lot of systems are now moving from text-based to voice-based. I talk to my smart TV by talking to it, not really typing in things. And but if someone is stammering, someone has cerebral palsy, the voice is non-standard. Someone has Parkinson's. So there is Project Relate of Google and many other teams are working on it. But again, this is a problem worth working upon. Non-standard speech, stammering, cerebral palsy, where the voice is not smooth. Now we have iPhone claiming they can smoothen the video. Why can't Alexa or Apple or Siri or anyone else, why can't they smoothen the voice also? So a lot of people are working on it, but this is a problem still not solved. Now amputees, we put very high quality prosthetics on them, the artificial legs or artificial knee joints or arms. Then orthotics for children with any kind of leg disease. The gait analysis things, which was basically hardware, a lot of hardware, they used to cost 1 crore or 2 crore of rupees. Now AI-based gait analysis solutions of equal accuracy, they are costing 2-3 lakh rupees. So this is proving to be a good solution and totally AI. Basically, again, a lot of image analytics in it. Now we all read about Google or Microsoft working with the eye hospitals on retina images, on X-ray images, and analyzing them. Now, a lot of prenatal tests, postnatal tests, or any time in life you have diagnostics. So AI is becoming a very large part of diagnostics in healthcare. And obviously, this is going to help the persons with disabilities quite a bit. Any kind of disabilities, prenatal detection also. But then it will raise ethical issues. Let us say prenatal, the diagnosis shows the child is going to be born with some diseases. So many people will abort the child. The people in disability rights, they say, do the disabled have right to be born or not? So this is going to be a big ethical issue, but again, it will be a boon for the health sector. Then in diagnostics, you have a lot of mobile survey kind of AI-based solutions coming up, where parents or teachers can answer a number of questions, and there is AI working behind it, which works on, takes in fact the local factors also, and tells you the child may have this kind of issue. The child may have these kind of special needs. So a lot of companies are working on these kind of diagnostic solutions, especially for autism, etc. And autism, by the way, has increased 100-fold in last 30-40 years. Now in India, this is AIMS data of 2 years back, 1 in 78 children born in India has autism. Cuts across all sectors, cuts across all geographies and religions and so on. Now drug formulations, AlphaFold 3 and Alpha Proteo, they are going to be transformative for drug discoveries. And especially in the disability sector, especially in the intellectual disability sector, the drugs are really, really expensive. And they really need to be customized also for depression and for a lot of other things. So drug discovery and personalized drugs, this is going to be a very big field in healthcare in general, but also for disability sector. Then a lot of personalized gamified solutions, AR, VR systems, they're very useful for children with autism and with many other special needs, special learning disabilities, dyslexia, etc. And a lot of companies are working on this and very effectively. And we have also done MOUs with 80 startups, more than 80 startups from disability sector. I had organized something called Purple Talks on the likes of Shark Tank. So I told all the startups, मैं आपको एक पैसा नहीं दूंगा, but मैं आपको moral support दूंगा, आपके साथ हम MOU करेंगे, आपके प्रोडक्ट या सर्विस को हम वैलिडेट करेंगे डिसेबल्ड लोगों के साथ और कम्युनिटी के साथ. And then this will help you in getting venture capital if you're non for profit, or getting CSR if you're not for profit. And at least 20-30 of them have told me that MOUs have really helped them. They have started getting funding, and we are actually validating their products. So people started calling it a government Shark Tank, but without the funding, without direct funding. We help in getting other funds. Then chatbots are obviously very low hanging fruit. There is a chatbot called Aditi AI by National Association of Blind. So the blind or any other person with disability, they can do voice chatting with it on health and sexual issues. This is a taboo issue otherwise. So this is a great chatbot. Then there's a chatbot by Torchit. It's an Ahmedabad-based startup on government schemes for the persons with disabilities. They have loaded about 500 government schemes into it. Uh, uh, I'm looking for someone who can build a legal kind of chatbot for us using LLMs or whatever, and fine-tuning the LLMs. And we have compiled impactful judgments of Supreme Court, High Courts, etc., in the field of disability. So a LLM will really help us in, or help anyone in framing a complaint, quoting the High Court and Supreme Court judgment. So this will be very useful to the young community. Then digital accessibility issues. Blind people can't see what is on the screen. They can't use mouse. They can't use the monitor, and they can't see what is on the screen. So they can only hear. So now AI can describe what is on the monitor. It can describe the chart for you. It can describe the image for you or the video for you. So in the sector of digital accessibility, or if you're paralytic, you can't move your um, hands. You can only move your neck or you move your eyeballs. Otherwise, the eyeball tracking solutions cost about 3 lakh rupees in the market. But good AI solutions are now practically available for free on your desktop or laptop or mobile. So that's changing this sector, people with paralysis. At totally another level, we are aware of what Elon Musk is doing on Neuralink. So absolutely a different ball game. Then Apple now is changing the ball game. Now AirPods Pro 2 costing $250, they will have the medical grade hearing aid in them. Otherwise, there is a great stigma to hearing aid. There is a fashion statement in चश्मा. चश्मा लगता है तो आदमी खुश हो जाता है, बच्चा खुश हो जाता है, अरे नए नए तरह के चश्मे पहनूंगा. And you can actually buy a chashma as a fashion statement. But hearing aid, no one wants to show others that I am using a hearing aid. But if it becomes part of AirPods, then again it's a fashion statement. It changes the hearing aid industry
काम करते
absolutely.
हैं, ठीक है,
The
वो
US.
को ना ऐसे ही रहने दो कि अगर लोगों को निकालें.
Yeah, okay. Then, so things are changing. The UX for persons with disabilities, they want the best good looking stuff. They don't want jugado looking stuff. For example, now we are giving beautifully designed, beautifully colored wheelchairs to children. They are so happy with those. Similarly, better hearing aids and better stuff. Again, that's important. So now we are using Anuvadini for translating a lot of our documents into other Indian vernacular. For example, 23rd September is the Sign Language Day. We are releasing our sign language dictionary. Presently, we have 12,000 words in sign language videos. But then the explanation is only in English or Hindi. So using Anuvadini, we have added 10 other Indian languages. So we'll be releasing that on 23rd September. So Anuvadini team, again, it's obviously AI at the back end in translation. And any solution for you design for the persons with disabilities, the UX is always such an easy and innovative kind of stuff that it also translates into better products for people not with disabilities. There are so many things which are examples of this. So I think I will stop here, and obviously there will be some questions or new ideas also. But my department is absolutely willing to, and we are working with a lot of startups on more than 80 startups actually, working on these, and at least 10, 12 of them are using AI in some fashion in their products or services. So I will be more than happy to talk to anyone, work with you on solutions, whether they are part of this hackathon or not, or this project or not. But we are absolutely open. And we work with a lot of the Divyang community, and many of them are themselves computer engineers and working on AI. But we work with everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah, Akrit, I am finished, so you can come in.
Sorry about that. Apologies. I had just to step away. Thank you so much, Rajesh ji. I just stepped away for the last 30 seconds, but the previous 10 odd minutes were absolute gold mine. It was just, I mean, you've given us and all the participants a lot of problems to chew over and to try to work on. Thank you so much. It's, even I think there's a couple of messages coming in chat as well, but I completely agree. It was really inspiring and very knowledgeable for all of us who are mostly product and technology people to hear firsthand about the range of problems. If you don't mind, maybe one, two questions.
Yeah, obviously.
Um, Sir, you gave some great examples, especially the Aditi chatbot and others. But in the recent, since LLM has become, more mainstream over the last 1 year, are there any examples of solutions that you have seen outside of our work here or your work, right? Outside of maybe India or just the work we do here that caught your eye, that you saw something which was somewhere in this area which felt like, "Arey, this is interesting and we should think about working on it."
See, healthcare diagnostics, a lot of
Okay.
stuff is happening there. And frankly, I believe the generative AI, when the hype dies down, it will be 10% of the entire AI thing. There will be a lot of non-generative uses also. Uh, and yeah, the solutions for the blind, they are changing the ball game already. Across globe, a lot of people are using. The blind people are actually the most tech savvy of the entire lot. And even iPhone and Android phone, if you talk to a blind person, the tech savvy blind person, they will teach you a lot of things which we do not know, because for them it is a lifeline. Mobile is the best assistive technology, obviously, to persons with disability and everyone. And for blind people, it's absolutely the lifeline. And now the deaf people ultimately are really, that is a sector which is crying for more solutions across the world.
Interesting. Yeah, you bring up a good point, which even I've been reflecting on recently, which is that when some of the initial hype dies out, you know, there's maybe one of the best things that generative AI will do is bring AI to the forefront, such that all types of AI solutions can be built, like you said, generative and non-generative. Because even, I mean, like you said, you worked on NLP, and that's the technology we were also working for the last 10 years. So even in NLP, there's still so much to do, you know, beyond just the generative AI. No, that's a great point. And one of the things that, particularly in areas like these, in this field that we're referring to, um, w- as a startup, let me just say, use startup broadly, could be new startup, thoda old startup. One challenge is it's a little complicated on where to start. In like how do you start building in this field? Because um, if you're building, let's say, something like a customer care, for example, solution, you broadly know how customer care works. You can go and sit inside, let's say, somebody's call center, understand what is required. When you're building something, for example, for deaf people, how do you, as startups, imagine and understand or interpret how the user thinks and does? I'm sure this is a thing that you face every day, right? So, some suggestions for our participants on, how to solve for that.
Yeah, today I gave you some ideas and how people are working on that. So anyone who is expressing interest, let us say to work with deaf people, for example, I'm working with IIT Delhi kids on stammering and two, three other solutions related to deaf. And then we put them in touch with the special educators who are teaching deaf children, parents of deaf children, actually deaf achievers who are really tech savvy. They give them lot of ideas. And same is for all kind of disabilities. So we put you in touch with people who will tell you the real issues which affect them, possible solutions, and who are also tech savvy to really understand what you are going to do. So that's where I think we can facilitate a lot of things.
Got it. No, that's very helpful. Great. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. This was really, really helpful. I think we're all walking away with a lot of, like I said, lot to think about. Appreciate it and would love to, like I said, have you involved through the process of the challenge. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. We have roughly, I think, 3 minutes left. If anybody has any further questions around the challenge itself, how the process is going to be done, we've tried to address many of these in the chat itself. But in case anybody has any more questions, you have 2 minutes. Maybe you can put your hand up and you can also ask us directly. Is this a recurring call? There's a question on chat. No, we had 3 webinars. This is our last one today. We will have more information sessions through the course of the challenge. But for now, at least, this is the last one. Anima, you have your hand raised. Feel free to, we'll try to unmute you and you can ask your question.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. It was a very informative session and a lot of problem statements we got. So I have an edtech platform for persons with disabilities, and we are working currently with blind and trying to make them education and accessible to them. So what I realized is that even the assessments for blind, and even there are a lot of other areas which needs attention, or which can include AI. So can these also be a part of organization? And we have a working prototype right now, but does not have AI features. And we have the product, but it doesn't have AI features. So can we add the AI features in our current product and apply for this innovation challenge?
Yes, the short answer is yes. But of course, with most of these things, the details lie in the nuance. So what I would say is that absolutely feel free to use it in the format that you mentioned. All we want to make sure is that you are using some element of AI in the solution. It could be generative AI, it could be natural language processing, it could be applied AI, it could be predictive AI also, right? Which people forget is also a very big part of everything that we do. So as long as you're using that and as long as it's an AI first solution, that's fine. Okay, I think that's our time. Thank you again, Rajesh sir, Vivek, and for so many people for joining in today. I hope this was helpful. Any further questions, we can address them offline. But good luck in filling the forms out. I do want to just share one important information before everybody drops off. The application form is long, and the reason it is long is because we want everybody to be very serious about what they are building. And we also want a fair degree of information and background in what you're doing. So we suggest that instead of directly filling the form online, please download an offline copy, fill the answers out on some sort of a Word document or some sort of notepad, and then use that to finally fill the online form because that will be a lot easier for you. Great. Good luck, everybody. Thank you so much.